Module 3. Okay, so I started this whole idea at the beginning of this presentation, talking about the stories we tell ourselves. And I'm just trying to change my video view, but I can't. Never mind. What we want to do is start writing new stories. So there's a story we tell ourselves now about who we are, what we're capable of, what's possible for us, what we can or can't do, you know, all those rules that we think were ours, but actually they're not ours at all, and they never were. So by module 3, what you want to be thinking about is, so what is the story I want to be telling? What is it that I want to be saying about myself, or thinking about myself, or feeling about myself? And what is the role I might like to take in the world? So I like to think of this as an awful lot more exciting than, you know, when you're at school, because this reinvention process, I could just as easily run a similar process with a group of teenagers who are in that, oh God, what, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know. And most of us have been there. There are a few rare, fortunate souls who almost know from birth what they want to do, what they love, what they're good at, and they have no problem at all. But the majority of us don't quite experience life like that. We go through that whole, what am I going to do? And then we fall into something. I don't know. I just fell into it. The course that was available, I had the qualifications, I did that. Someone offered it to me. You know, there's not really a great plan behind most of our lives. We fall into it. And some of the stuff we fall into can be very exciting. And we go, oh, I'm really glad I fell into this. But often we just kind of get into a bit of a routine. And I could call it a groove, but groove sounds a bit too positive. Like we get used to, we're on that treadmill. You know, we're into the cliches now, the hamster wheel. But we're just in a place where we're just so familiar doing it that we stopped thinking about whether it was anything we ever wanted to do, whether we actually are acutely skilled. Sometimes we end up doing things and we actually aren't necessarily that good at them. We just become competent at doing something that's not natural to us. And then we begin to tell a story about what it is we're good at. But we've forgotten what we're actually very good at. And one of the things, when we're talking about these powerful stories that builds into the next module and beyond, is something I've been talking about in podcasts recently, which is sometimes our story, we want to only tell the story of the good stuff. Like all of that bad stuff is not relevant. And this program is not about diving into bad stuff, but it can be about redefining what that means for you, what that makes possible for you in the world, completely shifting your perspective on something that might have seemed like completely worthless, negative experience that you don't want to repeat ever again, but actually coming through it can tell you more about yourself and what it is that's possible for you as you redefine your sense of worth and look at ways you can make a difference. Sorry, I'm thinking, have I skipped a bit? Have I skipped a bit? I have skipped a bit. No, I haven't skipped a bit. Okay. Ivan. So Ivan, this story is, I loved this story. So I only met Ivan a few times. This was before I really started doing what I'm now paid to do. And at that time, I just started being paid to do it. But really, this is both me sharing a powerful story from my own perspective and sharing Ivan's powerful story. So the powerful story here was that, unbeknown to me, I actually had a skill that I wasn't even aware of, which Ivan highlighted for me. It's like, oh, really? Really? Goodness, what did I say? What did I do? This Ivan was not even a client. He didn't pay me any money. What happened was we worked together. I used to work in the NHS. He was on a project. He was a project manager. And a group of us had gone out for a sociable evening, and I felt quite privileged because it was all the contractors, project managers who were subcontracted, and little old me who was an employee. So I felt quite nice to be included. And Ivan sat next to me, And we, as you do, round table, you chat from time to time with the person to the side of you, not necessarily lengthy chat, just, oh, hi, tell me a bit about you, because he was from Northern Ireland. So all I was aware of was we'd had a very normal conversation. And I got this in an email. This, what you're seeing here, was part of an email I got. And I think, I'm just looking at it, maybe a year later, I think a year after that moment. And this is what he said about how he completely changed his life based on a conversation, nothing more than that. And so what Ivan had done was created something way more powerful than up until that point he had believed was possible. He didn't just start seeing his family more, which is what he desperately wanted, because up till that point he was commuting between Belfast and Chippenham, we all know where Chippenham is probably, in the southwest. So Fridays he would go home, Friday night late, and he'd leave Sunday nights. He was barely seeing his family. So that transformed completely. He started a new business. Instead of being a freelance contractor, he actually started a business. He started picking his clients. He lost a huge amount of weight. He started the sport that he dearly loved, but he'd kind of told himself a story that he didn't have time for anymore, that he was too old, he couldn't do it. So all of that happened because he had that boom moment. Now I can't claim any credit for all the small steps that happened in between, although maybe I can. He clearly thinks I can. So that was a powerful story for me, and going, oh crikey, the influence we have with the small things that we say to people that just shift their understanding of themselves and their lives and what they want for themselves. And clearly that was what happened. I just must have questioned, oh really? Because it was quite clear he was doing this thing because he thought he ought to, because he was the man who needed to bring the money, and this was the way he'd been taught to do it. And suddenly he questioned that and changed everything. So the final module, I think you've all heard me talk about, when I share my story and I talk about breaking rules, and the title of the talk that I give is Rules for Fools. And this is what we're building up to. And it, as I say, we don't wait till module 4. We can break rules anytime we like. There's no rules about the rules. But by module 4, it's about, okay, you're ready. You can do this. You can change the rules. You can break some. You can make some of your own. Oh goodness, let's do that scary stuff. It's just diving a bit deeper into unconscious rule sets. So by module 4, you'll have a greater awareness of some of the things you're doing, and maybe you'll have some awareness of your own, and maybe you need to have that awareness revealed to you in these kind of calls, like Ivan, because sometimes we don't realize that we're in these rule sets until someone, it's like the emperor's clothes, isn't it? He's not wearing any clothes. Not wearing any clothes, really. Because when we do that, we can start writing chapters. But that second point in, which sounds like quite a small thing, I haven't even called this chapter anything to do with fear. In my experience, the core thing that holds us back from reinventing ourselves, from overcoming the obstacles that hold us back, from changing the repeating patterns, even if it comes dressed up in different clothes and disguised, is primitive fear. There's a fear somewhere that we've managed to kind of, if you go back to the ego depletion, press it down, keep it down, keep it down, keep it down. No, don't let it out. Don't let it out. We keep doing that, and we've been doing it for so long, we don't know that we're actually doing it. In fact, we don't even realize it's fear, which is why so many people, in order to reinvent themselves, hands up Shirley, myself included, have to wait until we get to the bottom, when we can't get nothing. It can't get any worse. Oh my goodness, it cannot get any worse. My life, I'm going to swear for a moment, my life is shit. Some of us wait till it gets that bad. because that's when we suddenly go, oh my God, it's fear. And we think the fear is only about that moment, but it's just that the fear's broken out. The fear has gone, okay, you've been trying to push me down too long. It's over. I can't be held back any longer. I just got to come out. And then it's totally overwhelming, debilitating, frightening, because it's fear. And I experienced that. That's what got me into the place that's enabled me to write this program. So I was utterly terrified. I had overwhelming anxiety that was day in, day out. Didn't go anywhere. It was horrendous. I probably can describe, because I'm sure you've all had moments like this where you can't imagine things being any worse, but you can't imagine things being any better either. It's this awful place. That fear has to be challenged and dealt with. So if we're still stuck by module 4, then we want to figure out, let's see if we can do something about that fear. Let's use some jiggery pokery, use whatever we need to just diminish that fear. So that could be a very fun, very frightening, or very fun module. Interestingly, once you start to diminish fear, and it will diminish, the plan is everything we're doing in the module through the weeks is working on reducing the background anxiety, because when we reduce the background, we're lowering the scale of that fear all along. That's the plan. But that doesn't mean we're totally going to nail it. We need to do something different as well in that last module, so that by the time you get there, you started thinking about your powerful story. You really are thinking about, and this is not the end. So when we get to module 4, yeah, that's it, I'm done. Reinvented. Lovely, I'm off. Thank you. Of course, because reinvention is not a one-time thing. Reinvention is the purpose of this program is to get you to a point where you go, oh my goodness, I could do things differently. I could do things differently. Christ, I could do things differently. And you start doing things differently. And what you start doing differently through this program will be something completely different to what you start doing differently next month or next year. But what it will give you is an ability to realize that you can do things differently. And you've got a whole box of tools that help you do those things differently. And you start to build more patterns, strengthen the neural pathways, create new neural networks that remind you that actually, this is way easier than I thought. That's where we want to get to. So it's not an end, it's another beginning. Because I think if the one key thing that when we get to midlife and we get into this, oh God, is this it? Is this it? When we get to that, there is a sense that somehow, and so many programs are about this, is there's one path, there's one purpose, there's one type of potential, one core skill, but that's just another story, a story we tell ourselves, a story other people tell us. And, go back to that ego depletion. Oh my God, if there's only one, it's like finding the one, isn't it? Like, oh God, the minute you think there's just one person in the whole world who's right for me, then that's going to set up some fear and some panic and some doubt. Like, crikey, how many people are in the world? Only one? Well, it's the same thing with our lives, with our purpose, with our potential. There's not just one. There's an opening up of going, oh my goodness, like you thought you had one gift at Christmas, and suddenly the Christmas tree is loaded with hundreds of things and they're all for you. That's what this is about, that excitement of going, oh crikey, I thought I just had to do this thing, and when I found it, life would be great. But there's not just one thing. I can do this one, and then, oh, that one looks interesting, or maybe I'll do that too. That's what this is about. And I hope you can feel my excitement, because this is so exciting when you realize this, and don't just realize it with an intellectual conscious, yes, I see what you're saying, Shirley. but with a real, oh my goodness, coming from the whole of your body and your emotions, your feelings of going, oh, a sharp intake of breath. Oh goodness, that's true. That's where we want to get to. And that's where I am. And that's where my excitement comes from, because I've experienced it and it is just as exciting. I'm not faking this. I'm just, it's so exciting. I thought we'd come to the close. We're nearly at the close, not quite, but to come close with a bit of seriousness to overcome my rather excitable nature. I'll never make a scientist because I'm just not serious enough. I am serious and I do love all this stuff, but you know, I can't do that. Lock myself in a dark room for weeks on end, calculating data. But anyway, some lovely people do. And they tell us some lovely stuff that supports all of what I'm telling you. I do like to bring a little bit in so that you don't just think, I just signed up with this mad woman. I don't know where she's coming from. She just made this stuff up. I like to bring in a little bit of science from time to time that goes, actually, some of this is provable. But here's what I've been saying, is when we're afraid, the brain goes, oh, okay, let's just focus on the fear. Everything else is off the table. We're not doing it. It's not happening. No, none of that risk taking, none of that exploration. No. You just stay right where you are and focus on the fear. So it's a neuroscience thing. I love it. Ooh, oh, okay. So I said Ivan's was a great story, but Tash is just as good a story. Now, Tash did work with me. She didn't just have a conversation with me in a pizza restaurant. Tash, so this story, I want to give you the update. I'll give you a moment. I'll read it to you so you don't have to, otherwise I won't know how long it takes to read it. So after years of looking for the elusive secret to self-confidence, I was starting to give up hope and thinking perhaps this was as good as it got. There is no overnight fix for improved self-esteem or confidence in my view. However, very early on, I noticed small changes. Remember, small changes, small things. Lost my place. Small changes in the way I was dealing with situations and feeling about myself. Small changes continued to happen over the months, and before I knew it, I'd forgotten how far I'd come. Again, which is why I said earlier, when you think of that scaling number, like 10 is where you think you'd like to be, chart the journey, because she quite clearly stated, I didn't realise. Oh, really? I've come this far? I hadn't realised. I certainly haven't looked back, and the results speak for themselves. 9 months on, I'm much happier in my own skin, and I've secured the promotion I so desperately wanted, overseas, etc. Right, update to Tash's story. When I worked with Tash, she had a high-powered, stressful job in a corporation. She was very, very, very talented, had a string of awards to her name, but had no self-worth. Like, no, but no, that's not good enough. It's not good enough. And it was not good enough. A key element of that, it was not good enough for people in her life. It was not good enough. So the thought of actually leaving that job, never mind leaving the country, what ended up happening was she left the country, she left the job. So she took on a much bigger job in Dubai. She went with her partner, but ultimately ended up not being with her partner. So she's changed countries, she's changed jobs, she's got no partner anymore. What subsequently happened was she set up her own business, which is what she'd always wanted to do. She's hugely successful at that too. She's moved out there, she's emigrated, that's where she lives now. She's found the love of her life, she's married. I'm not saying she lives the perfect life, and neither would she, but none of that was in her horizon. If I said, okay, so what's the goal? Go back to the beginning. What's the goal, Tash? She would never have said, oh, actually, I think what I'll do is, I fancy living abroad, reaching the man of my dreams, starting a company. Yeah, that's my goal. No. All she wanted was to just feel a bit better about herself. That was it. That was it. So she wrote herself a very powerful new story. So beginning today, this is the pre-call before you start. Okay, so we haven't started yet. This is just kind of easing you in, knowing now you know what you're in. You might go, I'm not sure. Is this what I said? I'm not sure now. But hopefully you are sure and you're excited, and this is what you want to do more than you did before. So I want you to start, before you jump into any of the content, basically because the content is quite empty at the moment, you won't find anything there. A bit, but not much. I want you to start meditating. Now, I said there's no rules, no rule sets. You write your own rules, and you absolutely do. But there's one thing, okay, I can call it a rule. We'll call it a rule. This is one thing I think is fundamental. You can choose to do it or not do it. However, in my experience, and in the experience of many people that have been through the kind of stuff that I've been through and come out the other side, meditation is core to those little incremental changes and to the big boom moments. It doesn't work if you occasionally go to a class. It doesn't work if you listen to an app from time to time as someone talking nicely to you. That's not the same. Meditation is where you just sit quietly, do nothing. You don't have to focus on your breathing. You don't have to focus on anything in particular. You can just do nothing. Just close your eyes, set a timer, do nothing. Start today. I did contemplate doing it in this call, but I'm going to trust you. You're grown-ups. You can do this. You can do this on your own. I trust you. It will transform your life if you haven't already got this as a habit. Here's the excuse that's often used for not developing the habits that work for us, for not doing any of the things that you're going to do in this program. Oh, yeah, oh no, someone called me up. Oh, someone came in. Oh, I got busy. Oh, work needed this, work needed that. Here's the classic part of one of the reasons why we get stuck, because we build the things that are important in our lives around the things that aren't important, that we tell ourselves are important. Oh yeah, but my work's my work. I get paid, but they pay me. Well, yes, they absolutely do. But the hours around the hours of work are yours. And you decide what you fill them with. You decide what you do with them. And so if we're telling ourselves a story like, oh, I haven't got no time. I meant to, oh, but this happened and that happened and the other happened. That's not you living life the way you want to live it. You make a decision and you build your life around the core elements that make a difference. So daily meditation becomes something you build your day around, not the other way around. And when I took that decision, so for decades, oh God, going back into my 20s, I'd gone to a class to learn about Buddhism. Oh, it was lovely. I went on a weekend retreat. That was lovely too. Oh, amazing. Came back feeling $1 million. Didn't stick at it though. I had to go to a class to do it. When I hit rock bottom, I started meditating. I thought, oh God, do you know what? Okay, I've tried everything else. Nothing else is working. Oh, that moment where you think, how could it get worse? It can't get worse. Okay, I'll meditate. Show me how to meditate. And I'm very grateful that I practice transcendental meditation. What I'm grateful for in that is that they are quite insistent about one thing, that you commit to do it every day, 20 minutes. In fact, they ask you to commit 20 minutes twice a day, which is what I did for years, twice a day. I now do it once a day because I realise I'm still getting the same benefits. I may change, but I am totally committed. Do not miss it. I get up early specifically. I have this, for me, a wonderful morning routine where I get up, it's my time, space, quiet, go in the bathroom, do my shower thing, meditate. I'm not going to miss it. My life works around it. It changes everything. So please do this. And the other things are just optional. So they're just kind of nice to have. They're just ponderables that you can take into the program. Just float through the weekend with, or float through your meditation with, asking yourself what you really want. Not in a, oh God, ego depletion kind of way. What do I want? I don't know. Shall I sit down and think about what I want? No. Just, I wonder what I really want. Don't know. What do I really want? Just keep asking the question. Just lightly ask the question. in those quiet moments, in those looking out the window moments, in those lockdown, oh God, moments, in the tumbleweed moments. I wonder what I want. When you feel ready, start to think about going big with ambition. Not a must have. Okay, so the only rule, as I said, is the meditation thing. That's the rule. Everything else is open. But go big. Think about this. Because this stumped me for ages about myself. Really stumped me. It's like, how is it that I can't imagine amazing things? You know, when people say, create a vision board or visualize the big goal, the big thing, and I think, oh God, okay. And I try to picture, you know, maybe a big house or me, I don't know, rolling in money. Do you know what I mean? All those mad things they tell you to maybe imagine. Couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. I thought, I don't get this. Why can't I do this? Because it is kind of barking mad, because that thought, that imagination, that visualization is in here. There's a lock on it, as in, not a lot you haven't got the key to, but a lot no one else has the key to. And yet we police it as if someone else has the key. We go, oh no, I know, that won't happen. I don't think so. We go, but yeah, but it's just a thought, just a thought. You just play, play pretend, just like you did when you were a kid and you dressed up. I did. I used to love dressing up. Dress up and pretend. It doesn't have to be something you think you want to do, but just play a game with, let me pretend that Donald Trump falls down dead tomorrow and I become the president. Just for a laugh. Just play with it. This journey needs to be fun. Final thing. I've already said it, but I said it earlier for those of us that couldn't come back. The scaling. What number are you now? Write it down, date it, repeat it weekly.